guys, Andrew from the Balance Center at Gordon College. Hope you're doing well. Tonight I thought I'd show you something that I know I personally neglect too much in my own wellness routine. And that's the concept of corrective exercise. When we lay out exercises to be done for, in my case, both ourselves and for you guys and other people that we serve, we want to make sure that we have a reason why we're doing them. Obviously, generally, most of us do them because it makes us feel better, or we want to get in better shape, or we want to lose weight, or we want to get stronger, or we want to be able to walk further. So tonight, I'm just going to demonstrate a few what we would call corrective exercises. And the question, of course, is, in terms of why we're doing it, what are we correcting? So as we go through some of these things, you may be noticing that, oh, well, I do this as a stretch, or maybe I even do this movement as an exercise, and that's fine. But the reason we want to show you some of these things is whether it's a postural deficiency or a strength imbalance. A lot of the things that I'll show you in the next 10 minutes or so will be precursors to kind of correcting those imbalances or those postural issues or those flexibility issues. So we're going to start with 4 different corrective exercises on our backs or on the floor, and then we're going to move into some upright stuff. And there are some subtleties to this that I'll point out as we go through. Most of these you should be able to easily plug in when you're at home. So first, to mobilize the thoracic spine, we're going to start with a foam roll exercise. And I have my foam roll here for demo, but this one also can be done with a rolling pin, believe it or not. So if you're comfortable getting onto the floor, we're going to start on our backs. And in terms of what we're correcting with this, a tight thoracic spine can lead to a number of different issues. Usually somewhere north. So think neck, think shoulder, but it also can affect our posture. So we want a nice, flexible thoracic spine. First thing I'm going to do, support my neck, hands interlocked, deep breath in, and then I'm just going to kind of exhale and move forward and back on the foam roll. So as I'm doing this, I'm taking deep breaths in and then exhaling. If you find a spot that's tight, just kind of hang out in that area, roll back and forth. You're using your heels for propulsion, so you'll be able to get a little hamstring work in there as well. I'm going to switch to the homemade device, so to speak, and I'm going to do the same thing. Rolling pin goes behind, hands behind the head. Now I'm just rolling on the rolling pin. If I find somewhere tight, I'm just going to hang in there, hang on it. And you can do this for any time amount that you want. Usually we recommend starting with about 30 seconds and then going up to the point of 90 seconds to 2 minutes. If that's too hard, you can tape a towel around it and you should be just fine. Okay, so the next corrective exercise we're going to do kind of on the floor is a bird dog. And some of you have seen this before, but the reason we're kind of lumping it into the corrective exercise phase here is its impact on spine stability. So we're going to lock in our pelvic tilt to start. And that's the first thing we're going to do. Then we're going to reach up left and extend right leg. So left arm up, right leg back. Pause, come back. Lock in the tilt. Right arm up, left leg back. Back. So every time before I go up, I'm going into a pelvic tilt. I don't know if you can see what's going on here with my low back. but I'm going into a pelvic tilt, so I'm tucking my belly button toward my spine. Up. We don't want any twisting with this. That's a no-no. We don't want any arching of the back. So we want a neutral spine as you're going through this movement. Okay? So again, with that exercise, we're trying to correct spine instability to give it more stability. And the bird dog is a great way to do that. The next one that I want to show you on the ground is what I would call a preacher or a prayer stretch. So again, we're going to start in the same quadruped, as we call it, position. We're going to reach our arms forward here, and then we're going to come back down toward the bum, with the bum coming toward the heels. So the bum comes down, and then we want the head kind of in a neutral position, not looking up, not looking down. And then you can roll your thumbs out a little bit if you want to get a little bit more stretch there. Come forward, and then come back down. You want to hold those for about 30 seconds. The nice thing is, even if you guys have had total knee replacements or total hip replacements, you don't have to worry about getting the bum all the way down to the heels. You just want to make sure that that upper back is put on stretch a little bit. So 30 seconds, 3 sets or so on this. Going back to the bird dog, that one you can do for time, 30 seconds, or you can do for reps. It's up to you. I like time on the corrective stuff, just because it's easier to keep track of. All right, the last one we're going to do on the ground, then we'll pop up to standing. We're going to do a rotation. There's two things that are kind of my soapbox issues with how we live our lives as Americans from a mobility standpoint. One is what I'm going to show you next, which is moving into rotation. We don't do very well when we move into rotation. So this next exercise is going to correct, again, an immobile thoracic or upper back as it kind of articulates with daily movement. When we walk, believe it or not, we have normal rotation that happens through our upper back and our torso. So this is going to give you more thoracic mobility, which will lead to more functionality. So we're in that same position, hands and knees. I'm just going to show you on one side here, but you translate it to both sides at home. We're going to, once we have our pelvic tilt, our weights shifted over our hands to a degree, you're going to reach through, almost kind of like you're threading a needle, and then you're going to come up and follow your arm with your eyes. So again, start here, reach through, come up, follow your hand with your eyes. So I'm looking up. Come back down, reach through, up, and then back down. Like we talked about with the preacher stretch, even if you come up to here and that's all the mobility that you have, that's okay. That's still rotation. You want to go to the end range of what's comfortable for you, pause, and come back down. All right? Again, you can go for time on that, or you can go for repetitions. I would say time would be the best. Okay, so there's 4 corrective exercises to do on the ground if you're comfortable getting there. Now I'm going to show you 4 corrective exercises to do in standing. So the first one is a basic pectoral stretch or chest stretch. But I'm going to add a nuance to it, as I mentioned earlier, that will really help nail some of the postural things that you may want to get after. So we're going to start with the elbows at about shoulder height. against the corner, and we're going to start by kind of leaning in toward the corner. But we're not doing this, and we're not doing this here. We're kind of just moving our hips forward the same, or leading with our hips, I should say. We're looking straight ahead. Now, hopefully you can see this. The next thing I'm going to do, now that we're in this stretch, is I'm actually going to squeeze my shoulder blade down and together. Squeeze, and then relax. Squeeze, and then relax. So you're squeezing your shoulder blades down and together, holding for about 2 or 3 seconds, just like this. Now as you squeeze, you may be feeling a little bit more of a stretch in your chest and your shoulders. So you're just squeezing your shoulder blades and relaxing them as you're holding that 30-second chest stretch. And again, the corrective for that is creating less tight musculature in front, a little bit of strengthening for your upper back muscles in the back, and it's also creating a little bit of dynamic movement there from a stretch relax situation that you're in, so it creates a little mobility as well. Okay, so the next one, I just wanted to show you, there is a version of the preacher stretch that we can do standing for those of you that aren't comfortable getting down on the ground. So for that, you're going to find a wall, reach up straight with your arms, almost like a field goal sign, and we're going to lean in toward the wall. Again, you can rotate those thumbs out if you need to. And we're just holding here. The wider you go, you're going to feel it a little bit differently down your lats and your other upper back muscles. After about 30 seconds, you can relax. 2 or 3 sets of 30 seconds on that. Okay. The next stretch and corrective exercise I want to show you is, again, we're starting with a stretch. So I'm in a hip flexor stretch here. In fact, let me show you the other way so you can see what's going on. I've got my back foot planted, back leg is straight, heels on the ground. I'm going to go into a lunge. The more I lunge, the more that back leg is going to be put on stretch. What I want to add to this hip flexor stretch here in standing is a side bend and a reach. Okay? Once you've got this position here, we want to squeeze that bum muscle of the back leg, and we want to go into a pelvic tilt. Here's where the corrective exercise comes in. Now I'm going to release my tilt, and I'm going to relax my bum. Now I'm going to squeeze my bum, and I'm going to go into the tilt. Relax the bum, relax the tilt. Squeeze the bum, and the tilt goes back in. So real quick, I want to break it down. So it's this bum squeeze here, and a tilt. And then I'm relaxing, and I'm relaxing. Okay? So that can be done over the course of 30 seconds time. And then you would obviously want to do both sides in the same fashion. So the corrective there is loosening up the hip flexors to prevent low back pain. Tight hip flexors can often equal low back pain. It's also correcting postural imbalances in terms of what we call hyperlordosis, where there's an extra deep curve in the back here. So we're getting that more into a biomechanically usable position. And it's also creating mobility through your pelvis where we need it. So that's the corrective on that. The last one is probably one of the more overlooked things. I'm going to roll up my cuffs here so you can see my foot and ankle. grab a chair for balance. So the last corrective exercise is going to be, it's going to be a single leg balance modified. So I'm standing on one foot and I've got a toe behind me. And what I want you to do is, first of all, I want you to load that foot with your full body weight. And I want you to try to distribute it over the entire foot. So we're not focused on the heel and we're not focused on the toes. We want that weight evenly distributed. Now, if I were to relax my foot, I'd probably end out here somewhere. But what I want you guys to do for this corrective exercise, the first part is getting into the position. And you got your chair if you need it. The second part is, if you can see my toes, I'm going to dig those toes right into the ground. I'm going to dig, 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 and I'm going to hold. Now I'm going to relax. I'm going to dig. Toes are pressed into the floor, pressed into the floor, and then I'm going to relax. Now you may have to kind of double check your weight, make sure you're still evenly distributed over that foot. Now I'm going to dig those toes into the ground, dig, 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 and now I'm going to relax. When you go into that relaxation phase, you want to splay the toes. So it's almost like you want to open those toes up, and then you want to dig those toes into the ground and relax. So that can be done over the course of a 30-second set as well. And you'd want to do 2 to 3 sets each side. The corrective exercise, in terms of why we're doing that one, a lot of our posture is or I should say the foot posture is given to us from the strength and the ability of the foot to navigate our body weight through space in direct response to the contact with the ground. So all that is to say is, when we're looking to create better balance, better foot posture comes into play. When we're looking to create better foot posture, this is a great exercise to be able to correct some of the deficiencies in strength of those small intrinsic muscles of the foot, and also give us better feedback in terms of what our body is telling our brain in order to get better at balance. So that was a quick run through of 8 different, what I would call, corrective exercises. Again, correcting what? Well, hopefully you were able to follow, at least in part, to what we were trying to correct or potentially correct with each of those exercises. Guys, have a great week, and we hopefully we'll see you soon.